Welcome to the fundamentals of boxing. So, in this masterclass, I'll teach you everything from a beginner to get you started into the boxing. I'll try to break down the entire concepts of boxing into the most simplest terms because I believe if you can't explain these things in the simple terms, you never really understand it. Okay, so let's start our first chapter, which is the foundations. So, in boxing, your legs are your foundations. So, you want to work on your legs, your leg stance. Best thing is if you stand like this with your feet closed, your hands to the side, and then you just put your legs shoulder width apart. And then if you're right-handed, which means you do a lot of your work from the right hand, take half a step back. And if you're left-handed, you do a lot of your work from the left hand, take left half a step back. Now, if you take left step back, it's called southpaw stance. If you took right step back, it's called orthodox stance. So in orthodox, your right hand is your power hand and vice versa. In southpaw, your left hand is your power stance. So I'll demonstrate the fundamentals for the orthodox because majority, 95% of you would be right-handed. So once you take half a step back, and you don't want to overdo it. So you don't want to be too close and you don't want to be too far. It's just simple half step back. Once you do that, you want to twist your feet to the right a little bit, about like 30 to 45 degrees, something like that. Now adjust accordingly, whatever you feel is like a good balance. It shouldn't be too wide and it shouldn't be too narrow, because if it's too narrow, you can easily be knocked out, and if it's too wide, it's going to decrease your speed, your movement. So it should be optimum. You want to make sure your left leg and your right leg shouldn't be in just one line. It should never be in one straight line. There should be a little bit like half a hand distance, maybe less than that apart. So once you get into your comfortable stance, another second thing we want to work on is our hands. So you want to take your hands, keep it in front of you, and then make a fist, and then put your elbows inside. So tuck them in, and then round up your back. So your back should be a little bit like this, and your hand should be here. So what this is going to do is it's going to reduce the attack surface. Your opponent's going to attack here. By doing this, you just want to decrease the attack surface. And then the third thing is your chin. So you want to drop your chin like you don't have any muscles in your neck. So just like this, drop that. And then when you do that, you want to drop your chin as much as possible, but you don't want to look down. You always want to look up. So an optimum position combining all these three would look something like this. From here, step, here, tucked in, rounded shoulders, and your fist should be like on your jaw, on your chin, and then drop, and then you should be looking forward. Now twist. So this is your perfect boxing stance. Now one thing worth noticing is you want to have around 60% of your weight on your back foot and just 40% on your left foot. So your left foot should be light. That will help you move forward and backward. And if you're southpaw, it should be the other way. Back, twist, this, and this. And then your body weight should be on your left. So this should be for the southpaw. Now, chapter 2 would be our punches. So we want to get into a stance, and we don't want to work on the movement yet. We just want to explore the punches and what different kind of punches we have. So imagine you have two guns in your hand. You're going to fight and you have two guns. One is this light gun, which is like, imagine this as like any pistol or any like MP5 or something. This one does fire a lot of rounds. So if you know any light machine gun or something, it fires a lot of rounds, but it's light, right? It does the damage, but it's light. However, the reload time is less as well. Now imagine this as your second weapon of choice, which is like this heavy sniper. So with the sniper, you have a long range, you have much more power than your short pistol. However, the reload time is also more. So this is gonna take lots of reload time rather than this. So just keep this in mind. The first punch is called the jab, which is gonna be your left hand. However, if you're orthodox, it would be your right hand. So how jab work is, you wanna imagine your hand like a whip, right? You wanna imagine the hand like a whip, and then you wanna do this whipping motion. You can tilt your shoulder a little bit forward, but imagine just like a whip. And then at the very end, when you twist, so you want to throw the punch, and then it should be like this, or it should be here. And then when you're throwing it, it should twist. And then right at the moment when you are about to do the contact, it should be from these two knuckles, and your wrist should be just a little bit tilted. So there has to be a little bit of bend. So you're always hitting with the knuckles. So a whipping motion, a twisting motion, and the stiff, and reload back. So forward, twist, stiff, and back. And you can throw body jabs, face jabs, just this whipping motion. However, one thing worth noticing, let me show you from this angle. When you're doing the jab, you want to protect your chin. So like I said, you always want to have your chin tucked in, and you don't want to just do this. You want this. Reason for this is, when somebody throws a hook or any other punch, which I'm going to explain what hooks are, you have your jaw protected, right? Now let's break it down certain things up until this point. Why I asked you to have this slanted motion. Reason being, a lot of martial arts, for example, Muay Thai, have this square stance, right? They want to be more upright. Reason is because they use a lot of kicks. So from here, if you're just standing here, it's easy to kick. However, if you're here, and then you have to first twist and then kick, there's a lot of recoil time and reload time on the loading time in kicking. That's why Muay Thai prefers more square stance. However, the strategy with the boxing is you want to reduce the attacking surface as much as possible. So slight bend in the knees, tugged elbows, curve in the back, tugged chin, and you have it here, and you're just looking. So you see from here, which has a lot of attacking surface, to here, you have less attacking surface. And you're not standing like this, you're standing like this. So even minimizing is. Reason 2 about the philosophy behind the jabs. If you see a whip and if you see a stick, right, the whip's gonna produce more power. So effect's gonna be much more dangerous and compared to a stick. However, the control of the whip is much more difficult than a stick. So if you imagine you have a stick in your right hand and you're just swinging a stick, it's easy to control, right? Like this. You can easily control a stick. However, the impact is not that great. Now imagine having a whip in your hand. If you do this, you see it's a lot harder to control because of this swirling motion. However, the power it's gonna do is much more impactful. And third thing also, if you have ever seen a bullet traveling, you shoot a bullet out of the gun, the bullet travels in this revolving motion. So it rotates, it keeps rotates on its axis. So they combine all these three into one. That's the simplest I can break why a punch is being thrown, why the way it's thrown. So they have this whipping motion, right? But right before the contact, they stiff it. So now you have better control. And they have this twisting motion embedded in it. So you see how clever they were? They combined all three into one. So whip, 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 twist, 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 and stiff. Right at the contact. Stiff and back. Stiff and back. And with this attack, since they ask you to raise your shoulder to protect, they have put in the defense in the attack automatically. Okay, so now we have understand the philosophy of the jab. Now let's move on to the second punch, which is a cross. So with cross, the idea is the same, just as your jab. However, you want to use your hips to rotate. Instead of just throwing like this, what I want you to do is pull this shoulder back and this shoulder forward from the hips. So this twisting motion. And then you also want to twist your leg a little bit. So if it's facing 30 degrees to the side, it should be facing straight. So from here, twist. And the motion is going to be the same. You have it a little bit softer, twisting, and then right at the moment, it's going to be stiff and pull back. So you never really throw your cross with just your arm, because that's not going to produce any power. Try this. If you're just standing and you just try to do this, it's not going to produce any power. But this, you're using your body to throw this thing. This produce power. So that's the fundamentals of the cross. Now the third punch that we're going to talk about is a hook, the left hook. So throwing a left hook is actually a bit complicated, but I want to break it down as much as possible. So for the left hook, what you want to do is you want to twist. You want to have this like C motion, like from here, have the C motion, while drop your hand a little bit. So from here, you drop your hand, have the C motion. So from here, drop, C. Here, drop, C. Now, of course, this is a bit exaggeration. So in real, it looks something like. Now there's a long hook, short hook, and a medium hook. So for the long hook, you want to drop, and then you have the C motion, like right here. With the medium one, you want to drop, and you have it here. And for the short one, you actually want to have this rotational motion. So for the short one, you want to have this. You don't need to rotate in the long and the medium. However, you need to generate power by having this twist. And with twist, you also want to twist your leg, you rotate your leg to get that. Now for the fist position, there are different schools that teach different styles. So you can have your fist like this, you can have your fist like this, you can also have your fist like this. These are all the different variations. So what I would suggest is have your fist like this, because it's gonna do the damage. You can also have it like this. It's a personal preference. Now we come to the right hook. Now same thing with the right hook. When you're here, you drop your hand a little bit, and then you do this motion. Drop your hand a little bit, and then you twist. You twist. So from here, you don't want to move forward, you don't want to move back. What you want to practice is just standing at the same spot, and then practice this twisting motion. However, in right hook, you definitely want to have this rotation motion in all three planes, whether it's a long hook, medium hook, or a short hook. You definitely want to have this and the C. So drop your hand and this, drop your hand and this, drop your hand and this. Now let's talk about another hardest one. This is the left uppercut. Now with the left uppercut, it's the same principle, that you drop your hand a little bit like this, and then you push. you push upwards like this, and then you twist a little bit. So this, however, if it's a long uppercut, you can simply do this. If it's medium or short, you definitely wanna have a little bit of rotational motion to get that power. Same thing with the right hand. You're from here, you wanna drop it a little bit, and then you just wanna smack. So you wanna practice on your balance. You don't wanna do this. You see how far away I am from like the original position, from the straight line. Imagine having this straight line and you're just twisting on this. So there's a very weird exercise that I want you to try. It's gonna look funny, but it's gonna improve your stances and your punches a lot. You just stand straight like this, and then you just do twisting. Not from here, not from your shoulders. As you can see, it should come from your hip. So you should twist, 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 twist. Just this. It's gonna look funny, but it does help. It gets your brain to think how you're gonna do the principle of loading and loading and loading and loading. So in boxing, you're always loaded on one side. So in order to throw punches, you load, you throw. Now you're loaded on this side, so you throw. Now you're loaded on this side, so you throw. Now you're loaded on this side, so you throw. If you want to do same punch from the same side twice in a row, you might ask, well, I'm from here, I throw my hook, now I'm loaded on this side. What if I want to throw my hook again? You follow the same principle. You load again, and then you throw. You load again, you throw. You load again, and you throw. For the hooks, there's also one stupid exercise. It looks stupid, but it works really great. You wanna feel like your arms are like the whips, and then you just wanna do like these, like little baby, like how kids throw their arms in a tantrum and they throw a tantrum. That's what you wanna do, like this. What it's gonna do is it's gonna get you into this habit of the hook. It's the same principle of the hook, except instead of going back and loading, you're generating power from your hip. So from here, you generate the power and then you throw. That's the motion, and then you throw. So I talked about the uppercuts. Same way, we're gonna talk about the right uppercut. You just drop your hand a little bit and then you throw this. Drop your hand a little bit and then you throw this. So these are the 6 fundamental punches. So those are all the punches, and of course there are so many different variations, but these are the basic fundamental of the punches. Welcome to another chapter. Now we're going to talk about the guards. Now there are variations of different guards: Philly shell, high guard, long guard, but we just gonna understand guards with a very simple principle. You have this bodyguard, you have this bodyguard. Now what you want to do to guard yourself, I'm going to divide it into 3 different phases. One is guarding or defending from the legs. Another one is from the hands or the trunk. And then the third one is using your head movement. So the first one is, like I said, you want to be very light on your feet. So the first defense is, if somebody is attacking you, you want to just defend yourself. If somebody is attacking you, you want to defend yourself and jump right back in. That's one. So you see, I jump back, I came back. If there's a punch coming, I move back, I come back. Second type of defense going to be the same, but just a variation of first is, instead of going back, and again this is going to be a bit advanced, is you can lean back a little bit and come back. So from here, I just dodged that punch and came back. The second one is Let's talk about the third one first, which is like your head. So for head, you have the swinging motion. So let's say if you throw a jab, I wanna be on this side and I wanna be on this side. So from here, I wanna come here, I wanna come like slips. These are called slips. So you wanna slip with your head. There's also going under the wire practice, which is you put your head like this, but make sure you have your chin tucked in and you always want to look forward. You never want to look down. That's when you're gonna get in trouble. So from here, motion, you're just gonna do this. There's also a third variation, which Mayweather uses a lot, but that's the advanced version. It's called a weave. It's like you take your entire body from here to here. So your entire body. Now again, I'm exaggerating a lot, right? Your entire body. But you don't want to do that. You just want to fix on like this and this. Now the second defense out of 3 is using your hands. So let's say you punch. One thing is, this is called the front block. So I want to have my palms face like this, and I want to keep it here, and I want to narrow down these elbows, so I can see from here, and when you're throwing the punches, I'm just catching them here, so they will be coming like that, but I'm just catching them. Another one is your long guard, which is you have this hand, your lead hand, forward, so you're keeping your opponent at a distance. The third one is the high guard, where you have your guards up here, so you're protecting yourself. There's also catch and parry, which is another kind of defense, which is, let's say you throw a punch, so I use this motion, I move forward to catch that punch, so I catch that. Also, this is called catch. There's also like parry or like deflection. So when you throw a punch, I can deflect. I can just get its trajectory in the other direction. So if it's coming straight like this, I can just do a simple tap and back. And like I said, this is much exaggeration. This is not the movement. The movement is just this little movement. So you throw a punch, I did this tap. So instead of coming forward, it just shifted a little bit to the side. So you have your stance. How are you gonna move forward and backward in this stance? So like I said, you wanna have your 60% of your weight on your back foot and just 40% on your front foot. So whichever side you wanna walk, let's say I wanna walk forward, then I'm gonna put my front foot forward and then drag this a little bit. And if I want to go back, I want to start with my right foot and drag. So forward, this, and we never want to do, you always want to have this distance always constant. So when I go forward, I cover this distance. I go forward, I cover this distance. Forward, backward. Forward, backward. Now you never want to do, you want to take a step forward and you never want to close too much distance, because see, now you're easy to fall. Also, what you don't want to do is, if I take a step back, I don't want to have larger distance here. So I don't want to take a step like this. You see, this is very unstable. So you always want to keep the same distance between your feet. Forward, forward. So you want to take like little steps and then you move forward and backward. You never want to have like this walking steps. No. Now let's talk about moving left and right. So it's the same principle. When you want to move left, you put this foot on the side and you shift. You move, you shift. To the right, to the right, to the right, to the left, forward, forward, backward, 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 right, left. You get the idea. So there's one more thing that we have, what we call shift and pivots. So with shift is, you just want to shift a little bit onto the side. Also, this is one sort of shift, or we call it slip in this language. The shift is basically if you just want to shift on this. So for that moment, we want to keep this leg here and we just shift. So it's more like a bigger moving forward. So from here, we come here, from here, just for the moment. The same way, the pivot is this. To do the pivot, remember I told you, you have to have 60% of your body weight onto your right leg. I'm just exaggerating. But for the pivot, for that brief moment, you want to put the weight onto your front foot or your pivotal foot. So you want to transfer your weight in here, and then you just want to pivot. Make sure you get in the same stance. You don't want to be here, you don't want to be here, you get in the same stance. So from here, you can pivot on this side. From here, you put your weight on this one, and then you pivot. You want to put your, let me show you. So you want to put your weight on here, and then you pivot. So from here, pivot. From here, you pivot. Now, this is, you don't want to pivot more than 90 degrees. Now, there's also, if you have seen fightings, you have seen some really good fighters, pro fighters, they actually pivot 180 degrees. But don't worry about that for now. Just work on pivoting not more than 90 degrees. So from here, body shift, pivot, body shift, pivot on this side. So pivot or pivot. Pivoting is good. Let's say you want to always be on an angle. So if my opponent is coming forward, let's say he's about to charge me, I can be here if he's going there, and then boom, and I can dodge his punches. If you have come this far, now you understand all the basic components individually. Now just the last thing is the flow of the boxing. So the flow of the boxing is where things gonna get a bit complicated, because whatever you have learned, all the stances, your punches, your fakes and everything, it's just gonna combine everything into the one. And what I would recommend is, you're not gonna master it just like in the first time. What I would recommend is you just throw absurdly, right? Like, don't go really fast, but what I want to do is throw everything slow, but keep conscious of what you're throwing and how your stance look like. So if I'm doing pivot like this, I know this is a bad pivot. Like, I can see it, and I didn't do it fast, I did it slow. So I can fix that by actually pivoting better the next time. Similarly, in the flow, just try to throw punches. You see my punches, this is all open, and then I'm not throwing the right way. So I want to be conscious about this, and I want to perfect on that whipping motion, that twisting motion, that hardening, the same thing, the rotation, and everything. So this is how you get into the flow. So once you practice that, you get into this speedy state of where everything combined. You get into the flow. If you practice something long enough, you're gonna master it. But you practice something bad form long enough, it's gonna be perfect in the bad form. So that's all there is to mastering the boxing, the fundamentals of boxing. Thank you so much.